Catholic News Roundup is brought to you in part by PewSitter.com, your online Catholic newspaper for the third millennium, CatholicMediaCoalition.org, in line with the Church, online with the world.
And TheAmericanCatholic.com, politics and culture from a Catholic perspective.
Hello and welcome to today's edition of Catholic News Roundup. I'm Matthew McAuliffe. Nigeria's Islamic oppression. Christians are being forced to flee their ancestral homes in Nigeria as fear of more attacks from the Islamic group Boko Haram spreads. You may remember the group, whose name means, quote, Western education is sacrilege, that bombed a church over Christmas and to have killed over 80 people in recent weeks, according to BBC News. This pattern of recent killings suggests, quote, systematic and ethnic religious cleansing, according to one resident Christian pastor. The Christian president of the country, Goodluck Jonathan, is revealing the declining security situation in his country, saying members of the Islamic terrorist group are, quote, in the executive arm of government. Some of them are even in the parliamentary, legislative arm of government, while some of them are even in the judiciary, end quote. BBC says the Boko Haram are fighting to overthrow the government to create an Islamic state, while the country seems to be sliding back into civil war as peace is falling apart between Muslims and Christians across the country. Crushing Gaza's Catholics. The only Catholic parish in Gaza finds itself suffering tremendously, trapped within the city's blockade and surrounded by an overwhelmingly Muslim community. Visiting bishops from Europe and the United States are scheduled to discuss the current plight of Christianity in the Holy Land with diplomatic envoys and the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, also touching on the onslaught of the so-called, quote, Arab Spring and how it will impact Palestine. One Christian woman living in Gaza told Vatican Radio that her children were, quote, invited to become Muslims and need to be strengthened in their faith, while raising a family and finding jobs becomes increasingly difficult for Christians. Muslim violence is no stranger to the Christian minority in the Gaza Strip, exemplified by Hamas attacks in 2007 and other attacks as recent as last year. Faith trumps terror. Threats of terrorism have not deterred the faith of Filipino Catholics in honoring Christ, as over 3 million marched through Manila in the procession of the Black Nazarene, despite the president's warning that police were in pursuit of as many as 9 individuals involved in an attack plot, which led to raids on suspected terrorist safe houses with no results. The event still took place under the watch of 15,000 police and bomb-sniffing dogs. According to the Associated Press, when asked if the threat came from the al-Qaeda-linked Islamic terrorist group Abu Sayyaf, Filipino President Benigno Aquino said that was unconfirmed. Stay with us. We'll be back in just a few seconds.
Catholic News Roundup is brought to you in part by NewOxfordReview.org, the voice of Catholic Orthodoxy, in print and on the web, and RenewAmerica.com, expanding the influence of America's grassroots in the cause of freedom.
Obama's bitter pill. Obama's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology say the morning after pill should be accessible to everyone, despite the dangers it represents to those who take it. You may remember the Secretary of Health and Human Services in the U.S., Kathleen Sebelius, refused the Food and Drug Administration's request to take the Plan B contraceptive drug out from behind the pharmacist's counter several months ago. Among the 5 members of the council bashing her decision is Francesca G. Grifo of the Union of Concerned Scientists, who labeled Sebelius as a non-scientist political appointee, overturning decades of research conducted inside and outside of the FDA. The chairman of Obama's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology, John P. Holden, however, has no direct influence over Sebelius and must abide by her decisions, though he does plan on bringing the issue up with her again. Presently, the morning after pill is only available to those over the age of 17. And finally, Department of Health and Homosexual Services. The homosexual population is being embraced as a protected class, according to Kathleen Sebelius and the Health and Human Services Department. All 2.5% of the American population that represents married homosexual couples will soon be championed in healthcare by educational programs that will provide what the HHS website refers to as, quote, LGBT cultural competency curricula in the training of healthcare professionals. The department further states its intent by saying on the web page that it will convene professional groups and isolate strategies to implement what it calls its future recommended actions for the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender community. Such actions include putting mechanisms in place to connect LGBT couples with insurance that covers them specifically, providing them with grant money and services to guide them to such funding as well. I'm Matthew McAuliffe. Thanks for tuning in today. Be sure and tune in tomorrow for your daily dose of Catholic News Roundup right here on RealCatholicTV.com. And be sure to check out The Vortex, where Michael talks about anti-Catholic bigotry in the political arena. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to tell all your friends about us. And as always, God bless you.